Hey, everybody, welcome back to Mainframe Comic-Con 2.0. We are going to go ahead and keep the ball rolling here. Huge special thanks to everybody that joined in the cosplay contest. That was tons of fun. I see our director is back in the backstage area, so who's ready to run smooth? Joining us here to introduce our next guest, Mr. Tim Rozon, is, you know him from the Chumpcast, Smithers. Are you there, sir? How's it going?
I'm here. Everything's great. It's really good to see you, even if it's virtual. I don't know, man. I feel like every time I see you, something good's going on. So here we are. You've been doing a great job with Mainframe, and I'm really happy to be here.
We have been having such a blast here at Mainframe Comic Con. Can't think, is that it? Oh my God, I know exactly what your backdrop is. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you, let you have fun with your next guest. Enjoy, sir.
Thank you so much. So, hey, Tim.
Ryan.
Thanks so much for joining us. You know this man as Doc Holliday from the sci-fi series Winona Earp. He's Mutt Shit from Schitt's Creek and Isaac of Vagrant Queen most recently. Thank you so much for joining us, Tim. How are you?
I'm great. I mean, it's my absolute pleasure. Yeah, thanks for having me. This is a great cause. So,
Of course. So let's start off by a little catch up here. What are you doing during this lockdown situation? Is there anything that you pick up a new hobby? You binge watching anything?
oddly enough, I did learn to juggle. I taught myself to juggle, and I made friends with a guy who I started watching his YouTube videos by the name of Juggling Josh. You can check him out on YouTube and his socials. And he was cool enough. I sent him a video of my progress on my socials, and then he sent me a whole bunch of juggling kits. So I've gone from the 3 balls to the bowling pins that he sent me, but it's like starting over with the pins because the pins are just it's another level. Yeah, so I've taught myself to juggle, and I played guitar before, so now I've taught myself some harmonica, and
Okay.
yeah, I'm learning lots of Bob Dylan songs.
This is some jack of all trade stuff, man. That is not what I expected the answer to be. Is juggling.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's get right to it. Earlier in your career, you were pretty much a household name in Canada. You had a lot of shows going on, Rookie Blue, Flashpoint, The Listener. Now people are recognizing you more in Schitt's Creek, Winona Earp, Vagrant Queen, which airs the finales this Thursday, correct?
That is correct, my friend. Thursday
Awesome.
night at 11 is the finale.
So what people might not know is that you're a big comic book fan. Is that true?
That is correct, my friend. I am more than a fan. I'm an addict, I think.
We all are. So can you tell me about how you got into it? I mean, was it when you were a kid? Did this come along when you were older, or?
Yeah, I'm a pretty much. It started from childhood. I got to attribute the GI Joe cartoon and the Transformers cartoon, and then when I found out there was a book, the first comic book I got into was obviously GI Joe. And then from G.I. Joe, I started getting into the Spider-Mans, which was a really good run. It was the Todd McFarlane time, and the first appearance of Venom was around that time. And there was a book called Nom. And then I was really lucky enough to be around at the beginning of the TMNT, and I love that book. So I've got the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So yeah, I mean, I started like that, and then I built my collection over the years. The cool thing is it was something that I hid for so long, and it's only really in the last honestly like 5 years that now I could be like, yeah, I've got long boxes and graded books, slabbed books. Like I'm a super fan. So getting to go to Comic-Con San Diego 3 years ago for the first time ever was it was just the greatest experience of my life. It was everything. Like, whatever happens, I lived a happy life. That's everybody just needs to know that. I went to Comic-Con,
Sure.
I made it there. Not only did I get to go, but I got to go as a guest and be on a panel. And, I had co-written a comic book that was at Comic-Con with a picture of a character that I played from a TV show based on a comic book, drawn in a comic. It's everything you can imagine. So
That's the dream, man. You're
That's
living
it.
it. Does that influence the roles that you go out for? Or I'm really curious to hear that. I mean, between Winona Earp and Vagrant Queen.
Yeah, that's the thing, my friend. Vagrant Queen came along at this time when unfortunately, Winona Earp went through something weird. And it sounded like we almost were going to lose our show. You know, I was at Comic-Con for season 3, did the panel. We got picked up by the network Sci-Fi for season 4 and 5, not just 1, 4 and 5 announced at the panel, Hall H Comic-Con. This was, you know, life's good. I remember it was January. I had the beard going because I don't grow just a mustache anymore. I've learned to grow the beard and then you cut it into a mustache. If not, I'm walking around with a mustache for a whole year. So
honestly, I assume that with that beard, like it just ruins clippers when you try to trim it. It's so thick.
yeah, well, this, you know, the quarantine's added to this one a bit. So, but I can't shave. So we're only halfway done season 4 and I got to go back and finish. So as soon as the government says it's okay for productions to get back together, I'm on a plane so we can finish.
So where are you in the shooting of season 4?
We had literally taken our hiatus. So we were halfway through and we were all saying goodbye to each other for a week. That's what we all thought. You know, there was talk of stuff going on, and I knew stuff was a little more serious than everybody thought because I was supposed to go to Florida from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and they weren't letting flights from Canada to the States. So as soon as I knew that, and everyone else was flying home to Canada, so they didn't have any flight restrictions, but I did. So I kind of had this weird feeling, well, maybe this isn't going to be a week. Maybe this is going to be a little something else. And then, of course, by the time I got home, it snowballed into where we're at now.
Well, let's stay on Winona Earp. This is obviously based on the IDW comic. Were you familiar with this before you went out? How did the audition process go?
Well, I wasn't familiar with the comic book written by Bo Smith, but I was familiar with the character of Doc Holliday. You know, yeah. I'd be remiss to say I didn't know the Val Kilmer or even the Dennis Quaid portrayal because I'd probably watched both those films good 50 times. I loved both those movies. I loved Westerns. I loved Doc Holliday. I mean, it's just always been a part of me. So when that part came, yeah, man, I was like, there was no nerves because sometimes, you know, in these screen tests or these situations, there can be nerves, but this was pure excitement because I loved it. I would just get out of my way. Get me in the room. I'm so ready to do this part. Like, just put me in, coach. Let me, you know, like, this is the dream. This is it. This is, you know, and this is at a time when I was already on a great show. I was on Schitt's Creek. This was, I think, this was in between the season 2, season 3 of Schitt's Creek that I went out for Winona Earp and Earp came along and yeah, it was just lightning in a bottle for me. Just reading those words, it was like, this part's meant for me, you know, and I couldn't wait to do it, and it's been an honor ever since. And I honestly, I never thought I was going to get that feeling again, but I did with Vagrant Queen, oddly enough, because in that little weird break I was talking about when I wasn't sure if Winona Earp was coming back or not, I got the sides for Vagrant Queen based on a comic book, you know, and I read the comic book this time. I went out and got the book by Madeline Visaggio and Jason Smith from Vault Comics. I read it and I loved it. And I felt like I had the edge because I read the book before my callback. So I kind of got Isaac. I understood the character and I said, okay, if I'm not going to do Doc Holliday, I got to get this Isaac part. I got to get it. And then, of course, 2 days after I signed the contract for Isaac, Winona Earp coming back. And, you know, I told my wife, I'll see you in a year.
Curse with too much work. It's a burden.
It was the only thing that it's just the ultimate blessing. The only thing that made it weird is I also found out we were having a baby at the same time.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, he's 5 months old, but it was it's this, you know, in this business we say feast or famine. That's what it is. It's literally, there's like, I'm never going to work again. There's no work. Or how can I handle all this work? It's just too much. So,
okay. So I'm going to go a little off script here. My wife is 37 weeks pregnant.
Yeah.
What do I do? Like, how do I dad?
Listen to me, man. I'm so happy for you. Congratulations.
That's amazing.
And I was you. I'm telling you, I was you. So don't worry, all the answers come. And like, people told me tips and whatever, and it's just, don't just go with the flow, man. In the beginning, you got to be there for her, obviously. You know, she's going through a hell of a lot more than you are.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, so and then enjoy every moment, every second. It changes so quickly. Each week to week change. Now it's day to day. He's just changing. If I can recommend one thing, there's a book that I read called Precious Little Sleep. If you can find that book, and it's going to help you immensely. And it's just about kind of sleep training. You know, you start at about a month old. You can't really sleep train a child at the beginning, and it's not like that crying one. There's a technical term for that one. I can't remember the one, but anyway, it's not that. It's different, but it's worked for us, and he sleeps like a dreamboat. So
I'm on it. It's on my list. Thank you.
Precious Little Sleep. Yeah. I'm so happy for you, man.
Thank you so much.
I was so nervous, and I said, I can't do this. But best thing that ever happened.
I can see the happiness in your face, and that gives me hope.
Yeah.
Thank
You're you. You'll be fine. It's just, you know, the world's scary. So now it's scarier.
Okay. Well, let's get back down to business though. Yeah. You got a chance to write a little bit for IDW. Can you talk a little bit about that? And I mean, is this something you want to maybe work more on?
Mm-hmm. Like I said, you know, what else can I ask for? You know, I get to play Doc Holliday on a comic book show, and I got to go to Comic-Con, and you think it can't get better, and then it does. I meet Bo Smith, the creator of Winona Earp, one of the humblest, kindest men I've ever met in my life. And he's been in the comic book business for years. If you know comics, you know Bo Smith. He's written Batman to you name it. Bo Smith he's been there. He was one of the original guys when Image opened. You know what I mean? The first Comic-Con we went to, he said, "Oh, my friend's gonna come by the green room and say hi. Is that cool?" His friend was Jim Lee.
Never heard of him.
You know, and Bo didn't say who it was. He didn't make a big deal about it. And man, did Jim love Bo. Like, you could see that these, you know, you said, "Oh, this Bo's a big deal." Just by the way Jim was talking to him, you knew Bo's somebody. Anyway, him and I, we hit it off like peas and carrots. We started talking comics. The opportunity came from IDW. I think it was more of a, to be honest, in the beginning, just a sales pitch. You know, let's have the actor say he co-wrote one of the books, and we're going to say it's the character based on his book. I mean, it's a great idea, you know, but I was ready. I was ready. So Bo Smith called me. He says, "You can write." I says, "Yeah, I told you." He says, "Okay, we're going to co-write this book for real. Let's do this." And I'm not saying that there wasn't the idea before, but, you know, I think it was going to be completely his story and everything. And no, Bo let me come in with story points, and when I wrote, we write, and then now we've written 2 graphic novels together. So what's that, like almost 5, 10, 12 single issues together? We've co-written. I've written almost 12 comic books. If you think about that, it's crazy.
That's amazing.
Amazing.
Do you have any ideas for, you know, standalones or?
100%. Yeah, I've been working on one during this. Juggling is just
no better time. Juggling and writing at the same time.
Don't worry, I'm juggling. But I mean, yeah, of course, creatively, I've been working on something that, and it's Western. It's Western. I love those Western comic books. You know, Six Gun is incredible. But this is more an old timey stuff. I got to write a Doc Holliday story, but like an original one from back in like 1865, and I loved it. I just loved the romantic style of writing an old Western. So yeah, I've kind of been working on that. Yeah, and I owe it all to Bo Smith. You know, you got to think about the humility of that man to let someone else come into his book. This is his book and his characters, and he lets me write them. He trusts me to write them. The guy's incredible. And he's taught me, I mean, you know, to learn from one of the best of all time. It's crazy. So I just soak it up like a sponge and enjoy every second.
I mean, don't be too humble. You know, talent meets opportunity. Then there you go. So I'm excited to see what else you got.
Right, I was ready. Like, trust me, I had stories and I had written, and I was ready. I was ready. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Let's shift gears a little bit here. I obviously am a big Schitt's Creek fan. It's the Rosebud Motel is behind me. you get a chance to work with some comedy icons,
Mhm.
and I'm curious: is that intimidating? Does it boost you comedically? Tell me a little bit about working with Catherine O'Hara and Eugene Levy.
Yeah. Well, first of all, absolutely petrified in the beginning. Of course, but they're just about the nicest people in the world. Eugene's great, and I loved the Toronto Blue Jays at the time, so he no one else did. And I was like his baseball guy. So you talk baseball with Eugene, he was happy. So he liked me right away, and I had that, we had that in him from day one. I said, oh, this guy wants to talk about the Jays. He was nice enough to take me to a game, and I go to the game where, of course, front row, Sky Dome, well, Blue Jays, whatever it's called now. It's always going to be the Sky Dome for me. And it's next to the batter's box, and all the Jays come over and they all say hi to Eugene, of course, because that's his season tickets, whatever. Batista's coming over. How you doing, Eugene? And Eugene's talking to everybody. And Eugene said, my friend's going to join us. And it was Geddy Lee from Rush.
Wow.
Just like that, I'm at the Blue Jays game, front row with Eugene Levy and Geddy Lee. No biggie. I'm just wondering, how did this happen? Where did I get here? And Catherine O'Hara she's just incredible. Luckily for me, I had all my stuff with Annie. And Annie, she's the most amazing girl, and she's super humble also, which is very key. I'll never forget the moment. If you remember the Jezebels episode.
Of course.
Yes. Okay. So Moira is going to go in and she's going to audition. I got to see that in a read through, that performance, for the first time before anybody else. So for anybody who doesn't know what a read through is, before each episode is filmed, everybody gets together and we just read it around a round table. You can give a little emotion here and there, but mostly it's just, you just reading it. The writers want to hear it out loud. Somebody's timing it. It's very, it's never what you end up seeing on camera. Annie and I were sitting next to each other. She was digging her nails into my arm because we were watching Catherine O'Hara do this impromptu, full-on performance, singing. And she was digging her nails into me, just like, can you believe how lucky we are to be in this room during this moment, to see this magic happen? And because you just know you're lucky, you're watching royalty. But I'll tell you this. What I learned about comedy, and especially from watching them, is it's hard. It's a different training of acting. They've got it down to a science. They know inflections on words, that if you hit a word with a certain inflection, it will make it funny. How they do that, I don't know. Schitt's Creek, lucky enough, I played the straight man. I was the one who's not going to be funny, which makes it funnier because
I was going to say, I don't want to interrupt, but your straight manness,
exactly. It makes it all funny, but you understand your role. And then, which really blew my mind, is then you try and understand Eugene, because Eugene is supposed to be the straight man, but he can be just as funny as the other person, where normally you have a straight man and then like a Chris's character, who's kind of the bigger character, and you're supposed to have, one, but Eugene has the ability to be both at once. It's crazy.
It's the eyebrows, man. I'm telling you.
It's next level. And of course, Schitt's Creek, you cannot mention it without Dan. It's Dan Levy. That's his baby, and it's what an incredible cast. And his sister is just, the Levys, they're just very talented, and they're great actors. And it was just one of those things. Again, you just pinch yourself and you wonder, how am I here? How am I a part of such magic? It's crazy.
So when you were on set, did you pick up any? I know a lot of the show was improv. Did you pick up any skills there? Or did you just kind of sit back and let the masters work?
Yeah, listen, Ryan, I'm a goody two shoes. Okay, I'm like a real scaredy cat. I learn my lines like exactly what the writer wrote, and you have the writers. Martin Short's brother is one of the writers, and Dan Levy is writing episodes. I'm not going to start taking liberties with these guys' words. You're given gold anyway. You're given gold anyway. And what I did learn with a lot, especially on Schitt's Creek, is saying nothing is better than talking a lot. Reacting is better than acting a lot. I've learned that the reactor is actually sometimes is the funnier way, and to learn to tone down those reactions, because Mutt, I just tried to tone it all down, whereas Isaac is bigger. Isaac is the first time I'm playing a character that's the funny. He's a little more out there. He's, you want him to be bigger. The note was always just go a little bigger with Isaac, whereas with Mutt it was just keep the containment, contain it. So you learn there's tricks and levels to all of it.
So I want to get to Vagrant Queen shortly, but as I'm talking to you now, what I'm seeing is the next Wolverine to me. I mean, you're Canadian, you got the beard. I don't know how tall you are, but I mean,
yeah,
Hugh Jackman was tall anyway, so who cares?
Yeah.
Is there a role out there that's, like, yes, this is the one that I would risk my entire career on? Like, this is what I want to be.
I gotta tell you, I mean, it's tough. It's, of course you want to have dreams, you do, and I want to have those things, but Doc Holliday, that was it. Like I got to be Doc, I love Isaac, I love much shit, but getting to be Doc Holliday, I remember that moment, man. Before that happened, I told my wife, I said the words that came out of my mouth. I said, you know what the dream is, babe? I just want to be on a show that goes to Comic-Con. Imagine we get to go to Comic-Con with a show. A year later, I was on a panel at Comic-Con. The universe gave me exactly what I asked for. So I'm scared to ask for more, because I've been given so much, and I don't ever want to take that for granted. Listen, my favorite character is Silver Surfer. He's my all-time favorite. And people always ask me, well, if they make a Surfer movie, would you want to be the Surfer? My answer is no. I'm that much of a fan. I'm not the Silver. I'm not Norrin Rad. I don't know who Norrin Rad is, but it ain't me. And I want to go. I want to go watch that movie. I want to go sit in the theater. I want to watch someone else do it. I don't know who it is. They're going to be perfect for it, and that's that.
Did you look differently at Doc Holliday after you played the role for a little bit?
What I did do is not watch Tombstone or not watch Wyatt Earp, but that's for sure. It had been a couple of years since I watched either one of those movies, just because anyone who's a fan of Doc Holliday, you're well aware, especially Val Kilmer. I mean, most people can quote that movie,
of course,
word for word. So I'm not going to do that. What I did do is look at the original old pictures of him and realize he had a really big mustache. So I said, the one thing Val didn't have was the big mustache. I said, I'm going to grow the big mustache, because if I can do anything, I'll try and be, as real as he was physically. And so that's what I said. I said, I'm going to grow the mustache. And, Wynonna Earp's just the universe that it's you're so free to create the character that you want. And he's, now he's a vampire. Spoiler alert, season 3, guys. There's a lot going on. So you can take some liberties, and it doesn't have to be, I didn't want to be a Doc Holliday we've already seen before. That's for sure. Cause it's been done so well, even Willie Nelson was freaking Doc Holliday. So
hard to top.
Yeah, exactly.
Big shoes to fill. Okay. So we only got a couple minutes left. I want you to talk about Vagrant Queen a little bit. Obviously this is first season finale is coming up this Thursday, 11 on Sci-Fi. What can you sell us on your character in the show overall?
It's just, listen, I say 3 words. It's heart, it's hectic, it's humor. It's a great show. It's a black female lead in a sci-fi role for the first time, maybe ever. The 2 girls are the love story. It's a beautiful space romantic comedy of madness and insanity and debauchery and crazy aliens, and at the end of the day, it's about a family, and it's about 3 strangers from different galaxies that come together and try and beat the bad guy. And the bad guy's played by the amazing Paul Dutoit. It was filmed in South Africa. The crew there did an incredible job. Some of the best prosthetics I've ever seen, and it was a blast to play. And it's based on the comic book by Madeline Visaggio and Jason Smith. And if you know comics, you know who I'm talking about. So
Absolutely.
Everybody should check that Vault comic out. Read the book, and then check the show.
We got one quick question, and then we'll let you go. From Nim Makes Boom Hansen, how long you suspended on wires to create those Vagrant Queen mannequin challenge shots? That sounds like it was intense.
Yeah, so Jem Gerard, our showrunner and writer and like director, just the heart and soul of Vagrant Queen, she had this amazing idea of these things called the Mannequin Challenge. So it looked like a comic book. The whole screen freezes like that. Each episode with different scenarios. One is when Nim goes boom. When Nim goes boom, grenade, and it was each one was different. So I have no answer. There was definitely a lot of green screen or green boxes you were on, depending on how you were hung or wired. Yeah, I remember last week's was Ame, Alex McGregor. She was on wires for a while. She was definitely up on wires for a while, but it's well worth it when you see it, how cool it looks. So
very cool.
Yeah.
Well, Tim, we're just about out of time. I want to thank you once again for hopping on to do this. If there's anything else you'd like to plug, any upcoming projects or anything like that, social media, let us know now.
No, just all the best for you and what's coming in your life, my friend. Exciting stuff, my friend.
Thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. And thanks to everybody who's tuning in and donating for a great cause. Mainframe Comic-Con. Tim, you're the man. Thank you so much.
Oh, you are. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. Be well.